Welcome into the show. Here is today's Philadelphia Eagles Now rundown. Philadelphia making a surprising roster move. Should the Birds sign Jalen Mills? He hinted on social media that could be a possibility, or is he teasing all of us? I want to talk about one player who's been shocking the Eagles throughout training camp, and we also have some training camp news and notes to pass along. The final practice for the Eagles during 2024 training camp. A reminder, programming alert, going to be live later this afternoon, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on those notifications. Therefore, anytime we push out a show like this or we do go live, you will be notified. And then we're also going live for the Eagles preseason finale against the Minnesota Vikings. That game getting underway, 1 o'clock Eastern. We'll be live with an hour pregame show beginning at noon Eastern time. So make sure you join us. Can't wait to see all of you there. As for the Eagles roster moves that took me by surprise, at least at this point, since 53-man roster cutdown day is on Tuesday, Philadelphia has released tight end C.J. Uzomah, and the corresponding roster move, Philadelphia bringing back offensive lineman Jason Poe. He can play center, he can play guard, he's very athletic. He played his college football at Mercer. In fact, in the pre-draft process, he was so quick that some NFL teams worked him out as a fullback, has familiarity with this organization, as I alluded to. And going back to Uzomah, why it's a surprise, what does this mean for the tight end position? Who is going to be the backup tight end behind Dallas Goedert? And who's going to claim the tight end 3 role? I took a look at the Philadelphia Eagles website, and this is their depth chart at the tight end position, Of course, you have Dallas Goedert as one of the top all-around tight ends in the NFL. I think he's due for a breakout year because a lot of teams are going to be loading the box, focusing on Saquon Barkley. Then in the passing game, they're going to want to limit A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So I think Dallas Goedert is going to be able to leak out and be uncovered in the flat, down the seam, down the numbers. And Kellen Moore is going to do a good job, hopefully, of targeting him with the football. And Goedert is an excellent player. Of course, he has to stay healthy, but one of the top all-around tight ends in the game. But the Eagles are light as far as depth goes behind him. Grant Calcaterra, long strider, smooth athlete, physical size, but isn't going to give you much as far as blocking. And when he was in college, he had to medically retire because of some concussion issues. He's been banged up over the last couple of weeks. Albert Okwuegbunam is an athletic freak, but he's never been able to put it together. He's also missed some time. So the Eagles tight end depth chart on their website going into the preseason finale looks as such, with E.J. Jenkins, Amari Rodgers, Kevin Fulch as the backups. And going back to Albert O, he's really shown this team nothing. Philadelphia traded for him going into week 1 last year, giving up some late-round draft compensation. He's so gifted as an athlete and as a pass catcher, but he's not a good blocker either. He struggled in that department with Denver, with Philadelphia. It was somewhat telling that the Eagles decided to bring him back, but he played in that preseason opener against Baltimore, did nothing, thought he had a couple of drops, some bad plays, and then missed last week's game against New England, and he's been injured with an abdomen injury. And E.J. Jenkins has had a really good training camp. An excellent preseason. Overcame a drop against Baltimore to play well later in that game. I thought he put some really good plays on tape against New England. Is he climbing up the depth chart? And has his ascent led to the Eagles letting go of C.J. Uzomah, who is a good blocker? Because as we know, the Eagles, for a really long time as an organization, have always valued heavy blocking tight ends because they will trot out a lot of 2 tight end sets. Of course, that could change with Kellen Moore. We're not sure exactly what he's going to do. But the point here is that Philadelphia doesn't really have one of those heavy blocking tight ends on the roster. That was C.J. Uzomah. Now they're letting him go, and I imagine they're letting him go right now so that he can latch on with another team and maybe make their 53-man roster. But it's not like the Eagles are deep at this position. Lastly, as part of this conversation, this is the route that Howie Roseman could go as well. He could make a trade for a backup tight end, or he could scan the waiver wire to see if there's a quality tight end that does get let go. Either way, surprising roster move and an interesting situation at that tight end position for Howie, Roseman, and company. Next Tuesday, by the way, another programming alert, is roster cutdown day. All teams across the National Football League will trim their rosters down to 53 players. We will be bringing you the official Eagles 2024 initial roster right when that news is made official. So you don't want to miss that coverage. You don't want to miss our daily coverage of the Birds, and we're approaching 80,000 subscribers. It's my goal to get to 80K prior to week 1. If you want informative, entertaining, insightful, thought-provoking Eagles shows that involve you, the Eagles fan, lock us in and hit that subscribe button. Story number 2 on this Wednesday, August 21st. Could we see former Eagle and Super Bowl 52 champion Jalen Mills return to Philadelphia? The Giants released the veteran DB last week, and he didn't even practice for New York. He was placed on the non-football injury list with a calf injury, was never able to see the practice field, and of course, he has ties to the Eagles organization. He ended up being a pretty big steal for where the Eagles drafted him and how much he contributed to Philadelphia, a 2016 7th-round pick out of LSU, and a focal point of that Eagles secondary during that magical and incredible 2017 run to Minneapolis when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, dethroning Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Now, another reason we're talking about this, in addition to Jalen Mills being let go, is because he put this photo on his Instagram story. No context. Obviously, it's his number 31 Jalen Mills jersey, the Green Goblin, and he just put that out there. Is he hoping for a return? Could the Eagles be interested? Let's talk about that. I think the thought here is that the Eagles could use some safety depth. Sidney Brown's still not practicing. Maybe he starts the season on IR. He tore his ACL in December. The Eagles are a little bit light in the depth department at that safety spot, but I think Philadelphia seems to like Avonte Maddox and James Bradbury as backup safeties. They're trusted veterans. The Eagles know what both of those players can do. Philadelphia also did add Caden Stearns, who, when healthy, has been able to play really good football. A couple of years ago, he stepped in for Justin Simmons, and people in Denver thought that he was going to be the future Justin Simmons replacement. He's had a hip injury, a knee injury the last 2 years, so he's barely played, but he did play under Vic Fangio, and again, has been a quality player when healthy. And then, of course, you have C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship. So I think the Eagles are going to stand pat at that safety position, but Jalen Mills, an intriguing name as far as depth goes, and it might depend on the future injury status of Sidney Brown. A lot more to get to here on today's Eagles Now, but first, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Game Time. I love going to sporting events, but I also love music and comedy. And on the Game Time app, I'm able to get tickets to sporting events and games, but also comedy shows and concerts. This is the best ticketing app in the industry. You could save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets. Save even more with their exclusive in-app deals from Flash Deals, where you can select seats ahead of the game or the event. They also have zone deals where you can save even more when you choose a section and you let Game Time choose the seats. Recommendation when you use this app, toggle the all-in pricing option. This feature will show you your total up front so you don't get hit with those surprise fees at checkout. It's kind of slimy what other ticketing apps do. Game Time does not do that. I also like how you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. If you're looking to go to Vikings-Eagles on Saturday, still plenty of tickets available. You want to go to Brazil, tickets available for that game. Falcons-Eagles, that's going to be the home opener for Philadelphia this year at Lincoln Financial Field. Use the code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS. Also, plenty of tickets available to go to a Philadelphia Phillies game next time they're at the bank taking on the Houston Astros. So we'll put all of that information down below for you in the comment section and in the description of this video. Let's move forward here on today's show, and It's a loaded Eagles now on this Wednesday. This player has been shocking the Philadelphia Eagles throughout training camp, and it's third-round pick Jalyx Hunt, who has put together a very impressive preseason, and his background is really fascinating as a prospect and as a football player. He went to Houston Christian and was an edge rusher there, but he started his college career as a safety at Cornell, Ivy League, very smart. And up to this point, he's earned some playing time and has played very well through the Eagles' first 2 preseason games. But when he was drafted in the 3rd round, considering he played at the FCS level, he was seen as a developmental project. But he's going from a slow play project to a player who could have an impact in his first year in the National Football League. He did not start playing edge rusher until 2022. But he's a really intriguing athlete. At 6'4", 225, he has been able to rush the passer in training camp, generating quarterback pressures and sacks. He's done that in the preseason, but he's also looked very comfortable dropping back into coverage. Vic Fangio is going to ask his edge rushers to do that, and he's stuffed the run, making some good plays in the run game. Vic Fangio really liked him in the pre-draft process. Daniel Jeremiah, who is NFL Network's top draft analyst, was also very high on him. He had Jalyx Hunt as part of his top 100 big board, and Howie Roseman actually joked with him, can you take him off that? I don't want other teams realizing that Jalyx Hunt is a player. So I really do think that with his ascent, with his good play, with his versatility, his athleticism, he could get some chances to hunt the quarterback in 2024. Let's round out today's show with some training camp notes here. Today, the final official day of Eagles training camp. I can't believe how quickly this calendar year has gone, how quickly training camp has gone by. Regular season football is going to get here before we know it, and I can't wait for it. It's the best time of the year, and we have some college football next weekend. Are you kidding me? Saquon Barkley returning to practice today, by the way, did not take part in team drills. So there was an injury scare with him at practice yesterday. Obviously not expected to be serious. It was a veteran maintenance day for him. Philadelphia on the defensive side of the football continued to blitz a lot. In particular, blitzing Jalen Hurts a lot, an area in which him and this offense really struggled with last year. And once again, Philadelphia able to generate pressure on the quarterback. Now, Vic Fangio historically, I've talked about this on the show, does not and has not historically blitzed a lot. But that could be a new wrinkle for Vic Fangio's defense this year. Maybe he's taken a page out of Steve Spagnuolo's book. He looked at what he's done with the Kansas City Chiefs, winning a couple of Super Bowls, and Fangio going to apply a little bit of that with this Eagles defense. I don't mind the aggressive approach, especially if you can hold up on that back end. Hurts, by the way, sacked on 3 of his first 4 passing plays. The Eagles offensive line, kind of a sneaky issue. Brandon Graham really starting to turn it on of late. He said a couple of weeks ago, this will be my 15th and final season, kind of confirming that news, which we already knew. But he's had 2 sacks the last 2 days, which is good. Hurts finally throwing an interception after 305 passes. Darius Slay saying after training camp practice that he baited Hurts into that mistake. He jumped the route on that pass intended for Paris Campbell. To the running back position, Kenny Gainwell had a great practice and had a really nice touchdown catch from Jalen Hurts in the back of the end zone, and Hurts ending training camp with a bang. And really, it goes to show you what he's been able to do all throughout training camp. A 35-yard touchdown pass to Devontae Smith, who has been one of the Eagles' MVPs throughout training camp. A beautifully thrown football by Hurts. Good news here. It sounds like Cooper DeJean, the Eagles' second-round pick, 34th overall out of Iowa, is going to play on Saturday. He said he's going to look to give it a go against the Minnesota Vikings at Lincoln Financial Field. I'm fascinated to see how Vic Fangio is going to incorporate him in this Eagles defense. He has gotten this week some second-team slot reps. He has gotten some first-team slot reps, mostly running with the twos, but this is a versatile chess piece who can kind of play anywhere on the defensive side of the football. Inside corner, outside corner, hybrid linebacker, as a blitzer. At Iowa, he played a little bit of safety earlier this week. He was returning some punts. He does have some return ability as a punt returner, and I want to see Philadelphia experiment with him as a kick returner with this new kickoff rule because you can really take advantage of utilizing weapons back there. And Cooper DeJean at Iowa was a weapon with the ball in his hands, a former high school quarterback who has good instincts, great athleticism. He had 7 picks while with the Hawkeyes in college. 3 of them were returned for touchdowns. Cooper DeJean has some juice. I hope that we can see that against Minnesota. Lane Johnson also saying he thinks that he has 2 to 3 more years left playing in the National Football League. So he's been the best right tackle in the game for a long while, a legendary Eagle who epitomizes what Eagles players should do and how they should carry themselves. And it looks as though with that contract extension that he signed last year, he's going to carry that out and play for a couple of more seasons. Another reminder, going live later today on Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. Turn on those notifications and then watch party on Saturday, Eagles-Vikings.